Hello, my name is Dean Ramsden, and I am a therapeutic energy healer. The therapeutic approach to using both energy healing and a personal psycho-emotional healing process was first introduced by the late Barbara Ann Brennan. And in this series of review and commentaries on her first book, Hands of Light, published by Bantam Books in 1988, I'm taking a fresh look at this very important book for healers. And hopefully it will encourage students and practicing energy healers to work with some or many of the innovative ideas in this and in Brennan's other books. In the last episode of this series, we looked at seeing the aura, or rather using all of your senses to take them to a heightened level so you can gain more important information or relevant information to the person you are helping as a client, or if you are medically certified as a patient. This very important first step of deepening and expanding upon your physical senses is the foundation for an even greater expansion of your working paradigm as an energy healer, where the layers or different dimensions of the auric energy body, and later on the auric anatomy and functionality of the chakras, the specialized centers of consciousness, that these come together to help us understand both human health and expand our conscious awareness of our own lives. Now, we're looking at Chapter 7 of Hands of Light, and the focus here is what Barbara describes as the 7 layers of the auric field. In, I think, her creative attempt to view the energy body as a scientific reality, Barbara leaned heavily on describing the human aura as a field. Now, if you're not a physics major, the field effect in science, in physics especially, is used to describe the electromagnetic reality where something puts out a polarized field of influence around it. So this way of describing the auric energy is very common in the 80s and 1980s spiritual and energy healing communities. Although, as we'll see in this short episode, by then pivoting to her layers of the energy field, Barbara mixes her descriptors of what she perceives, mixing field effect with dimensional shifts. But let's look a little deeper at her words, and then we can see what is practically useful and how we can use this as a therapeutic tool. Now, in her book, Barbara writes her influences on this particular model, the layered model, on Jack Schwartz and the Reverend Rosalind Bruyere. Now, I never studied with Jack Schwartz. I have some of his books, but I have studied extensively in the past with Reverend Rosalind Bruyere. And yes, they do have, as I understand it, they do have a layered system, more like the planes, actually, of reality. And it makes me think that perhaps Barbara was influenced by the symbolism of 7. 7 is a very esoteric number. 7 planets in astrology, the 7 planes of existence, the celestial or planetary spheres that pre-modern people pulled a lot of insight about how the world works and what's going to happen in the world. But as I went through the book, I found some interesting sentences that help clarify what I think Barbara is really talking about, what's really trying to come through in this. And again, this is my interpretation, and you're free, of course, to believe the word as it's written. But let me do the quote first. So this is a quote from Hands of Light, page 43, if you want to look it up. Quote, "From the point of view of the scientist, each level can be considered to be a level of higher vibrations, occupying the same space as the levels of vibration below it, and extending beyond. In order to perceive each consecutive level, the observer must move up in consciousness to each new frequency level. Thus we have 7 bodies all occupying the same space at the same time, each one extending out beyond the last, and something we're not used to in normal daily life. Many people assume that the aura is like an onion where you can peel away the consecutive layers. It is not. Unquote. So that, I think, is the essence of what's coming through here for myself, not only as reading this book initially, but now after many decades of using the material practically. So for myself, Barbara is using layers, and she's referring to the electromagnetic field effect in ways that don't make much sense at face value. But if we substitute 7 different dimensional shifts in the auric body for Barbara's often used frequency motif, you get, in my opinion, closer to the intention of what's trying to come through here as a working model for therapeutic energy healing. So whether or not you look at the auric body as 7 dimensions, as I do, or 7 layers, and you have your own understanding of what that layer is and how it fits within an electromagnetic field effect, I think we're in the same territory. Now, if I had to speculate, I think this part of Hands of Light was Barbara's way of early on trying to make sense of her psychic perceptions and fitting it in, massaging it into her Western physics degree education. So as I said earlier, a frequency layer or level could very well be experienced as the same as a dimensional shift, 7 dimensions of the auric body, and you can get to, of course, pick and choose what works for you. Aside from the Brennan material, of course, and this will come out in some non-Brennan material I'll present later on in the year, the 7 planets, the 7 consciousnesses of the planets exist both in the physical realm but also hold different consciousness realities, and each planet with its different consciousness, its different perspective, the different thing that it represents and emanates into the universe could have I think, an impact on the 7 realities or 7 levels of the human energy body. So if you're a Barbara Brennan student, of course, if you're currently in that wonderful official school, the Barbara Brennan School of Healing, just know this is my speculation, and I never did hear Barbara connect planetary energies with the energy bodies. But if we build on her work, I think it's a worthwhile exploration. Now, before we move on to chakras, which we'll cover in the next episode, let's look at some of the practical implications of having 7 levels or 7 dimensions of the auric body. So firstly, it gives 7 alternate realities to the energy body that you're working on or that you're studying if you're trying to expand your psychic perception. And in Barbara's map, there are structures and free-form flowing energies. They coexist. It also leads us towards chakras having 7 levels of functioning or 7 dimensions of functioning. So that allows you to develop your workflow when working with a client. Do you start at the first chakra, work your way up? Do you start at the first level or the first dimension and work your way higher? Again, there's options for workflow. And of course, from the very important bioenergetic perspective, core energetic perspective that Barbara uses, it's very much about clearing a blockage and having energy flow and clear through physical blocks and emotional blocks, psycho-emotional blocks, to restore the client to a more authentic sense of being. So Should you choose to explore levels or dimensions, you get to the same place, basically. So in the next episode, we'll look at Barbara's writings on chakras, and of course we'll look at those wonderful illustrations in Hands of Light. Always gets lots of attention. Bear in mind that those illustrations are an artist's rendition of what Barbara described to her about how the different layers or dimensions of the auric body look, how they look to her. So thanks so much for listening, and please like and subscribe if you want more content, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.